right, let's go.
Didn't you start over?
I'm just gonna edit it out. I'm just gonna cut it out. All right, tell me when you're ready, Breeze.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey everyone, what's up? This is Brielle. You might remember her from earlier episodes, like episode number. I'm just kidding. I don't remember. Brielle, do you remember which episode?
No.
No, right? All right. So
Maybe
what?
Yud Gimel.
Yud Gimel. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you remember Brielle from episode Yud Gimel.
It might be Yud Gimel. It might be another one. If my voice sounds scratchy, it's because I have a cold.
You have a cold?
Yeah.
Ah. And what if maybe does you're missing some teeth too?
Maybe.
Does that affect?
I could show the camera though.
Yeah, good idea. Let's see. Oh my gosh.
I have a grown-up tooth.
A grown-up.
And there,
wow.
If you could see, I think you can, and right here.
Oh wow. I hope we have some budding dentists in the audience. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, we should warn people.
There. One over there, that's the mouth.
All right, very good. The dentistry edition.
I just got moved up to advanced in gymnastics. I could do this.
Wow.
And I could do a split. I could do a back handspring, back tuck, back walk over, back limber, back walk over.
Yeah, I don't know these in Yanim, but maybe some of the people at Babylon Talmud, they know these things.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's very good.
And these two bottom teeth are grown-up teeth.
Oh, wow. Oh, very nice. All right, well,
these teeth
yeah.
are Legos.
Oh, they're wiggly. Ooh, that's good. Maybe, okay. That's very good. All right, very nice. All right, Brielle, well, we got to start Babylon Talmud. Any last things you want to say or do or show? Or?
At school, I got my Chumash and we're learning.
Oh, that's very good. You hear that, everybody? Brielle's learning Chumash. That's good. What are you learning? You're learning Sefer Bereshis?
No.
No, what are you learning?
I'm learning Lech Lecha.
Lech Lecha. Oh, that's very good. Avram Avinu. All right. We got to go weiter because people, they need to learn their Daf Yomi.
Okay.
All right, Brielle, you were great. Thanks for joining the show.
Bye.
Bye.
As in Hebrew, shalom.
Oh, if you didn't hear that, Brielle also said that in Hebrew, bye is shalom. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to Babylon Talmud. We're studying Daf Kuf Gimel. Daf Kuf Gimel of Masechet Pesachim. Daf Kuf Gimel talks mostly about Kiddush and Havdala. That's what it talks about. Let's go weiter. So we're on Daf Kuf Beis, and with Beis 2 lines from the bottom. Gufa Yom Tiv Shechalios Achar HaShabbos. Okay. So if you have Yom Tiv that falls out after Shabbos, okay, fine. We started talking about this yesterday. So Rav Amar Yakne Ushmul Amar Yinaik. We're going to see all sorts of configurations. So Rav says it goes Yayin, and then I'm not gonna go into too much detail with them, but Rav says Yayin, right, which is Bar Piragafin, then Kiddush, which is Mikadesh Yisrael Vazmanim, Ner, which is Bar Me'oria Eish, and Havdala, which is Havdala. Okay, so Rav says that the order is Yayin, Kiddush, Ner, Havdala. Ushmuel Amar Yayin, Ner, Havdala, Kiddush. V'Rabba Amar Yayin, Havdala, Ner, Kiddush. V'Levi Amar Kiddush, Ner, Yayin, Havdala. V'Rabbanan Amri Kiddush, Yayin, Ner, Havdala. Okay. Marbid Ravna Amar Ner, Kiddush, Yayin, Havdala. Marta Amar Shmei Yoshua Ner, Yayin, Havdala, Kiddush. Okay, I mean, the Rashbam gives all sorts of explanations of why each person has his preference. Look, the main things to note really are the order in which you're doing first Havdala or Kiddush, or Kiddush following Havdala, and also if you want to have Havdala and Kiddush next to each other, or if you want to kind of separate it somehow. And between those different things, you can get all the different configurations, but I'm not sure that there's enough value in sort of going through all of them individually and explaining why they feel that way. So we're just going to go weiter and note that there's all sorts of different configurations over here. Now, Shalach le Avud Shmuel Rebbe. So Shmuel's father sent to Rebbe. Yilamdenu Rabbeinu, teach us. Seder Havdala Seyach. What is the order of Havdala? We just saw that there's about 1,000 opinions on the order of Havdala Motzoi Shabbos. That's also Yom Tov. Shalach le Kach Omer Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. That so Rebbe sent to avoid the Shmuel. Kacham Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. This is what Rabbi Yossi's son Rabbi Shmuel said. Shalom Mishum Aviv, who was quoting his father Rabbi Yossi, the great Rabbi Yossi. Shalom Mishum Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, who said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua. This is just unbelievable. One story with so many like all stars. Ner Havdala Yain and Kiddush. That's what he says. All right. Amr B'Chanina. Amr B'Chanina says B'Chanina. Mashal Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya the Melech Shiotzev Afarkus Nichnas. So Rabbi Yoshua, right, meaning Shmuel had asked Rebbe, Avur the Shmuel asked Rebbe, who then responded to him that Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi said in the name of his father Rabbi Yossi that Rabbi Yoshua said that it's Ner Havdala, that first you're going to make Havdala for the fact that it's Motzoi Shabbos, and then Yayin, which is by Pregaf, and then Kiddush, which is Kiddush for Motzoi, for Yom Tov, right? Because it's Motzoi Shabbos, it's also Yom Tov. So says Rabbi Chanina that Rabbi Yoshua's opinion, which is that first you make Havdalah and then afterwards comes Kiddush on Yom Tov. So it's a mashal lemelech, it's a parable to a king. Sheyotzev afarkus nichnas. Right? If you have like a king who's in town and then the king is leaving and now the duke is coming. I don't know what a duke is. You know what a duke is? I don't know. It sounds like some kind of officer of sorts. So the king is leaving and the duke is coming. So what do? First you escort out the king. And then afterwards you then go walk towards the duke. So here also you have Shabbos. Shabbos is like the king. So you escort out Shabbos with Havdalah. And then afterwards you go and bring in and welcome Yom Tov with Kiddush, which is like the duke. So now the Gemara says Ma'havi Allah, but there's a note here that changes it to Heichadika Zman Heichiyavid. So now what do you do when you also have to say Shechianu? So for example, what if like the first night of Pesach is on a Motzoi Shabbos? So you also have to say Shechianu. So Abaye Amar Yikazne, Virava Amar Yaknehaz, Vilchsa Kirava. The halacha is like Rava that Yaknehaz. Has anybody ever heard of Yaknehaz? I feel like it's one of those things that like, they're just like one of those acronyms. Yal Kigam, Yaknehaz. So this is what Yaknehaz is. Yaknehaz is that when Yom Tov falls out on Motzoi Shabbos, so first you do Yayin, then you do Kiddush, then you do Havdalah, and then you do make a bracha on the Ner. You don't make a bracha on Besamim, right? As we learned. Wait, what did we say? So Yain, Kiddush, Ner, and then you say, I don't know what I said, but Yaknehaz. So Yain, Kiddush, Ner, Havdalah, and then Zman, which is Shechianu. Now where are we? Yeah, exactly. If you look at the last Rashbam on Kuf Beis Amud Beis, so at the very end, 2 lines from the bottom, it says, Umashe'ein nosnen amorayin simin lebesamim. Why don't they include besamim over here? Lefi she'ein mevarchen al besamim b'yom tiv, she'egam b'yom tiv yeshlonu neshama yisera k'Shabbos. You hear that? That we don't, if you have Yom Tov on a Sunday, so you're not going to say the bracha B'rei Minei B'samim, because B'rei Minei B'samim, you make the bracha because the neshama yisera from Shabbos went away. But you also, says the Rashbam, you also have a neshama yisera on Yom Tov. So therefore you don't say the B'samim. But the Ner, we learned about on, what was it, Daf Nun Gimel, in Masechet Pesachim, about that the fire was created on Motzoi Shabbos, so therefore we make a bracha on the Ner. Okay, very cool. So halacha is like Rava that Yaknehaz. Let's go weiter in Shas. Rav Huna bar Yehuda ikla levei Rava. So Rav Huna bar Yehuda visited Rava. Fine. Aisu lekame mar b'samim. Okay, so it was Motzoi Shabbos, and they brought for Rava a candle and b'samim. Baruch Rava abisamim b'reisha v'hadra amar. So Rava first made a bracha on b'samim, then on the candle, which is what we do l'maisa, right? Right? What's that? I don't know if this is like an acronym, but I always remember like Yavne, Yain, Besamim, Ner, Havdalah. So first you make a bracha by Pirgafen, then the Besamim, and then the Ner, then the Havdalah, which is what Rava did. Omarle. So Rav Huna bar Yehuda said to Rava, V'abein Beishame, Vein Beisil, Mar Bereisha, V'hadra Besamim. So frekt Rav Huna bar Yehuda to Rava, he says, wait, there's a machlokes that we saw in Masechta Brachos between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, and both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that you make a bracha first on the ner, and then you make a bracha on the besamim. Umayhi, what's this mysterious Mishnah? Titnanis, we learn in Brachos, Beis Shammai ner umazon besamim Havdala. Beis Shammai says that if you only have 1 cup of wine for benching and for Havdala, so you first make a bracha on the candle, and then a bracha on benching, and then besamim, and then Havdala. Uveis Hillel omrim ner uvesamim, first the candle, and then the besamim, and then umazon v'Havdala, then berkas hamazon, then Havdala. So we see that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both agree that either way, you're going to be making the bracha on the candle first, and then the bracha on the besamim. Ani Rava Basrei. So Rava responds to Rav Huna bar Yehuda, and he says, "Va'amar zodivei Reb Meir," that was the opinion of Reb Meir. Stam Mishnah is Reb Meir. So that Mishnah in Brachos was the opinion of Reb Meir. Ava Reb Yehuda Omer. But what's Reb Yehuda's opinion? Lo nechliku Beis Shammai v'Beis Hillel al hamazon shu batchila v'al havdalah shei basof. Reb Yehuda says that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both agree that first you're going to make a bracha on, first you're going to bench, and then you're going to have Havdalah at the end. Both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree, benching comes first, Havdalah comes at the end. So what's the machlokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? Ala ma'or v'ala besamim. They argue about the order of the candle versus the besamim. Beis Shammai omim ma'or v'achar kach besamim, Beis Hillel omim besamim v'achar kach ma'or. That Beis Shammai says first comes the candle and then comes the besamim, whereas Beis Hillel say first comes the besamim and then comes the candle. From Rabbi Yochanan, it says Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan that the minig is to do like Beis Hillel according to Rabbi Yehuda, i.e. first besamim and then candle. So, and also that's also in line with the Gemara in Eruvin, which said that when you have machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, you paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, very cool stuff. Rav Yaakov bar Abba ikla levei Rava. Rav Acha bar Yaakov, what? Rav Yaakov bar Abba, okay. Ikla levei Rava, he visited Rava, fine. Chazi de baruch boy priagafen akasa kama, v'hadar baruch akasa de birkasa, v'ishti. So, Rav Yaakov bar Abba noticed that Rava made a bracha, it was Shabbos lunch, as we're going to find out later, because, later on we're going to see that they also then were there for Havdalah. So from the fact that later on there was Havdalah, the assumption is that this was like Shabbos lunch. So Rava made a bracha on the wine at the beginning of the meal. Then after he benched, he made, birkas hamazon al kos, and then he made another bracha on the wine after the benching. So Omerle lamalach kulehai. Habarachlan mar chad zimna. So Rav Yaakov bar Abba wants to know, why did Rava make a bracha on the wine at the beginning of the meal and then make another bracha on wine after the benching? Why should you have to make two? Once you make the bracha at the beginning, shouldn't that be enough? Shouldn't that be enough for the bracha that you're going to make after the benching? So Rava says, well, ki avinon Reish Gelusa, when we were by the Reish Gelusa, says Rava, Achi Avdinan, this is what we would do, Amarle. So Rav Yaakov bar Abba responds to Rava, he says, yeah, but that's different. Tenach Reish Gelusa, don't bring me proofs from Reish Gelusa. The Hachi Avdinan, that's what we do at the Reish Gelusa, the Safek Maisilon, Safek Lo Maisilon. We don't know if they're going to bring us wine at the end or not. Whatever they give us, we take. And since we can't know at the beginning that we're going to be getting wine at the end, so then we make two separate brachas, since we can't necessarily have it in mind all the time because we don't know if it's coming. Hacha, but over here, when I'm at your house, Rava, hamanach kasa kamon, there's a cup of wine waiting for us. It's right in front of us. V'daitani lave, and our thought is on it. We know that we're going to have it at the end of the meal. Amrle on adik tamid de Rav. Says Rava to Rav Yaakov bar Abba, he says, look, I'm just doing like the students of Rav. To Rav Brona, Rav Chananel, Talmidei de Rav, because Rav Brona and Rav Chananel, who were students of Rav, Havu Yasve b'Sudasa, they were pashit eating a meal during the week. Koyalai Rav Yeva Sava, and Rav Yeva Sava was serving them. Amrule Havlon v'nivrech l'sof Amrule Havlon v'nishteh. So they said to Rav Yeva Sava, they said, okay, let's bench. We're going to bench. And then they said, actually, you know what? Bring us some wine. We want to drink some wine. Amrlu. So Rav Yeva Sava says to them, Hachi Amar Rab. Rab said the following: Kevin da'amrisu avlon v'nivrich itzra l'chu lemishteh. Once you said already that we're going to bench, you can no longer drink any wine. Right, as Rashbam says, about, 8 lines into the, kind of in the middle over there, 8 lines into the wider lines. Once already you said, hey, we're going to bench, you can no longer eat until after Birkas Hamazon. My time, how come? Because you already, took your mind off of eating. Once already you said, we're going to bench, so then you're not thinking about eating anymore. And when you want to now drink again, so it's going to be a separate bracha. You can no longer, you already took your mind off of eating. You can't eat until after you finish benching, and then you'll make a separate bracha. So we see that Rava was doing like Rav, that once already you decide you're going to bench, you had Hesach Hadas, and any wine that you're going to drink after that, you're going to have to make a separate bracha. Zok the Gemara, Amemar Marzutra v'Rav Ashi, Avuyasve b'Sudasa. Amemar Marzutra and Rav Ashi were sitting at a Suda. Wow, this is so geschmack. How's everybody enjoying Arvei Pesachim? Very much, right? I feel like we haven't had a Amemar Marzutra and Rav Ashi since like the brachas days. I feel like Amemar Marzutra and Rav Ashi were often eating together. I feel like we have some Gemaras and brachas from different Sudas that they had together. So now, back in Arvei Pesachim now they're back over here in Arvei Pesachim. Amemar Marzutra Rav Ashi Avuyasve b'Sudasa v'koy alay Rav Achaber the Rava, and Rav Achaber the Rava was waiting on them. Where am I? Amemar Baruch HaKokasa v'Chasa. So Amemar would make a bracha on every cup of wine. You drink one cup, and then a few minutes later would have another cup, a few minutes later another one. Each time a separate bracha. U'Marzutra Baruch HaKasa Kama v'Kasa Ba'asra. Marzutra made a bracha on the first glass of wine that he drank, and on the wine that they had after benching. But during the meal, he didn't make a bracha on every cup of wine. Rav Ashi Baruch HaKasa Kama v'Sula Baruch. Rav Ashi Taka made a bracha on the first glass of wine, and that was it. He didn't make a bracha on the wine, after benching, they had wine, didn't make a new bracha on that. Amlu Rav Acha bar Rave, Onon Kamanavet. So Rav Acha bar Rava, who was, waiting on them and was observing these great Amoraim, he says, "No, what should we do?" I mean, maybe he was like hoping to be able to, wow, this is great. He's going to be at a meal with a Meimar Marzutra Rav Ashi. Maybe he's going to learn something. In the end, he's got more questions than answers. Everyone's got a different opinion. So Rav Acha bar Rava says, "No, what should we do?" So Meimar Amar Nimlachana. So Meimar says, "Look, don't pay attention to me. Each glass of wine, I wasn't necessarily expecting to have another one, and that's why I made separate brachas." Which is interesting. Marzutra Amar, Ono de Avdik Tamide de Rab. Marzutra says, look, I did like the students of Rab. Just like Rava said. Rava said he was doing like the students of Rab, like Rav Brona and Rav Chananu. So says Marzutra, I'm doing the same thing, like the students of Rab, that I'm making a bracha at the beginning, and I make a separate bracha after benching because I had Hesach Hadas. Rav Ashi Amar, Le'silchsak Tamide de Rab. Rav Ashi says, look, the halacha is not like the students of Rab. Because if we take a look at the example of when Motzoi Shabbos is Yom Tiv is on a Sunday, and Rab says, Yakne, Yayin, Kiddush, Ner Havdala, i.e., on Kiddush and Havdala, he's making the same, right? He's only making one bar priyagafen for Kiddush and Havdala. So here also, Rav Ashi wants to argue that you should be able to make one bracha on the Kiddush, or in this case I think it was during the week, so just on the wine that you have at the beginning of the meal, as well as the one that you have later on. Viloi, that's not a good proof. There's a difference. When you're making Havdalah in Kiddush, It's mamash on the same glass of wine. You're doing it together, as we learned the other day, that, right, Havdala v'Kiddush Chadam Milsei. It's the same Indian, therefore you can make one glass of wine for both of them. It's not an issue of Einos mitzvahs chavilas. So you're going to make one glass of wine for both Havdalah and Kiddush, and there's no hesach hadas. It's all happening toch kedei. It's all happening at the same thing. But over here, I have some wine at the meal, and then I'm benching. I'm already in my mind. I'm no longer drinking. I'm no longer eating. Therefore, you got to make a separate bracha. And therefore, even though Rav says that yes, Hamutzai Shabbos, it's also Yom Tiv, you're going to use one glass of wine for Havdalah and Kiddush, but when you're drinking at a meal and then you bench, it would be separate brachas. Kimoto Abdule, when it became time to say Havdalah, right? This is going back to Rav Yaakov bar Acha. No, Rav Yaakov bar Abba, right? When he was by Rava. So now it came time for Havdalah. Kimota l'Abdule, when it came time for Havdalah, come Shamoy ve'adlik avuka mishraga. So Rava's attendant, he took a Havdalah candle, kilu multiple wicks, more than two wicks at least, a torch, and he lit this Havdalah candle, this torch, from just a regular 1 wick candle. Omerle. So Rav Yaakov bar Abba says to Rava, Lamalach kulei haman chashraga. Why do you need a torch? There's a perfectly good candle right here. Omerle. So Rava says to Rav Yaakov bar Abba, Shama midaite denafshe kavid. He says, the attendant, he did it on his own volition. I didn't tell him to do that. He lit a torch on his own. Omerle lo shmir le minei demar lo ava avid. To which Rav Yaakov bar Abba says, yes, but if he didn't hear from you, Rava, that's what should be done, he wouldn't be doing it. He must have heard it from you that you should use a torch for Havdalah. To which Rava responds, Lo savele mar avukal Havdalah mitzvah min amuvchor. To which Rava responds, says, wait, but Rav Yaakov bar Abba, don't you agree? Isn't this like a thing? Don't you also hold that it's best to use a torch for Havdalah? Okay, fine. Weiter, Pasach v'Omer. So then Rava then said, Hamavdo ben kodesh l'chol ben or l'choshech ben Yisrael l'am ben yom hashvi l'sheshes semei ha'maiseh. Rava then says, right, he who separates between holy and profane and mundane, between light and darkness, between Israel and the nations, between the 7th day and the other 6 days of work. Amalei lamalach kulei, to which Rav Yaakov bar Abba says, why do you need so many descriptors? Right? Ben kodesh l'chol, ben l'choshech, ben Yisrael l'am, all those. V'amar Rav Yehuda amar Rav, amavdu ben kodesh l'chol, zoev dalasos Rav Yehuda anasi. Didn't Rav Yehuda say in the name of Rav that amavdu ben kodesh l'chol, that's what Rav Yehuda anasi would say, that was it? Amavdu ben kodesh l'chol, that was that. So why do you need 4 descriptors? So Amar le'ana kahos really. So Rava says, I would like the following. To Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar Rabbi Oshaya, hapochis le'yifchos migimov v'amosif le'yosif al-zayin, period. And we're going to end there. That somebody who's saying Havdalah, you shouldn't have less than 3 descriptors and not more than 7. So therefore, I'm doing 4. And we're going to explain what these 4 are at the beginning of the daf tomorrow. So that was daf Kuf Gimel of Masechta Pesachim, another home run daf over here. Yeah, I remember I was very excited at the beginning of Masechta Pesachim, especially after Masechta Eruvin. Masechta Pesachim felt like a breath of fresh air. I remember loving every single daf. And now once again with the Arvei Pesachim, it's such a tainug. So now the daf Kuf Gimel starts off with Yak Nehaz, if you've heard of it. So that is talking about when Motzei Shabbos is also Yom Tiv. So it goes Yayin, Kiddush, Ner, Havdalah, Zman. And then we discuss Havdalah. We have the story of Rav Huna, what was it? I think Rav Huna bar Yehuda, who visited Rava, and Rava made a bracha first on Besamim, and then a bracha on the Ner, and then a bracha on the candle, which is like what we do l'maisa. And we saw that there's machlokas between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda about the machlokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. According to Reb Meir, both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that first you'd make a bracha on the candle, then you'd make a bracha on the besamim. However, according to Reb Yehuda, Beis Shammai says you make a bracha on the candle first and then the besamim. However, Beis Hillel holds first besamim and then candle, and that is how we hold, like Reb Yehuda's explanation of Beis Hillel. And then at the end there, okay, we discussed making a bracha. If you make a bracha, right, then we moved on to Rav Yaakov Bar Abba visiting Rava. And Rava made a bracha at the beginning of the meal on Shabbos, and then he also made a separate bracha on Birkas Hamazon, which we learned is the opinion of Rav. And then finally, we discussed Havdala, that Rava Davka used a torch for Havdala because multiple wicks is mitzvah min hamuvchar, as he said. And then at the very end, we saw the actual text of the bracha of Amavda min kodesh l'chol ben or l'choshech ben Yisrael la'amim ben yom hashvi l'shesh yismei ha'maiseh. I hope that everybody enjoyed that very much. Cheers. Peace. Bye.